Hey there, it's Crafty Jennabug coming to you today from my kitchen. So last year I made ink from elderberries. For the past few weeks the dewberries have been ripening. If you don't know what dewberries are, they're a type of wild blackberry. They're pretty delicious. They grow on vines instead of canes like the cultivated blackberries do. So there are these vines that are thorny. They grow all over the place in my yard, and I let them because it's free food. These dewberries are typically smaller than most of your cultivated blackberries, but we love them. Like, we eat them all the time. They actually, here, I'm not sure about everywhere else, but here in South Carolina, they ripen about a month before cultivated blackberries, which I also grow in my yard. But yeah, these are like a nice little free treat kind of thing. They are more tart than cultivated blackberries, but again, we love them. So I'm gonna make ink again with these instead of the elderberries. The elderberry ink ended up coming out, it looks purple, but it dries greenish, which I thought was really cool. I have a feeling these are going to make a purplish, pinkish kind of ink. I've never done this before with these berries, so it's only my second time ever making ink. We'll see what happens. I am using instructions from a book called Make Ink, A Forager's Guide to Natural Ink Making by Logan. And yeah, that's the same book I used for the elderberries. And let's get started. First step is we have to crush these berries. It says to use a potato masher. My potato masher has holes that would be too big for these to get smashed, so I'm going to just use a fork. And I'm going to mash them up good. Get all that good berry juice out of there. It smells amazing right now. I could probably have blended these, but this is easier and I'll have less cleanup. This is about 1.5 cups. I didn't quite have a full 2 cups recommended in the recipe, so I will have to adjust. His recipe says 2 cups of berries and 1/2 cup of water to make the ink, but we're just gonna have to make do with what we have. I spent about an hour this morning in the yard picking dewberries, so I think that is as mashed as I'm gonna get them. Look at that beautiful color. I would not be mad if that's the color of the ink. Alright, here I have a pot I found at the thrift store. And I figured it would be perfect for this sort of endeavor. I have my berries. I'm going to add them to the pot. Making sure to scrape all the goodness out. I'm going to get a spoon. To that, I am to add 1/2 cup of water, but what I'm going to do, since there's still so much beautiful juice in this bowl, I'm going to rinse my bowl out just to give me a little bit more. So to intensify the color, I'm going to add a tablespoon of salt and 2 tablespoons of vinegar. Seems like a lot. That's right, because I had a little less than the required amount, so this might be a little off. I'll add 1.5 tablespoons. Give that a little stir, and then I will heat it. It says to heat to just below boiling and cook for at least 2 hours, stirring occasionally until you have an intense ink color. So that is what I am prepared to do. Okay, now we've got to wait for it to almost come to a boil. Alright. That's a strong simmer. Alright, I'm going to let it simmer like that for about 2 hours before checking it and seeing where we are. I'm quite excited about this. And it smells so good, like maybe a blackberry compote or something. It's not as, doesn't smell as sweet because I didn't add sugar. So, this is quite exciting. It's been about 30 minutes and it seems like the water has evaporated. So I'm adding a bit more. So I turned this off. It's been almost another 30 minutes and the water is evaporating far too quickly for my liking. So I'm going to pull this off the heat. So I'm going to pull this off the heat and let it cool for a bit before I start filtering it out. I don't really have a lot of liquid in here, but we'll see what happens. So time to let this cool. Alright, so I have my bottle with a funnel. Sorry. I've got my bottle with a funnel in the opening, and then in the funnel is a piece of cheesecloth and a coffee filter. And I'm going to take my cooled berry mixture and carefully get it in here. I probably should have put gloves on. I think that's all I'm gonna get. Used from the force of this hand. Alright, sweet. Now I have a very nicely dyed piece of cheesecloth. A very messy hand. Alright, first of all, look at this gorgeous piece of cheesecloth. Now it is still wet, so the color may change a little bit, but how beautiful is that? If that's the color of this ink, I'm going to be thrilled. Okay, so that is how much we, the ink we have made. To make it permanent, I'm going to add some gum arabic, just about 10 drops. And then to keep it from molding, I'm going to add a whole clove. Now I'm going to close it up and give it a little mixy mix. So I let it simmer for 30 minutes and then had to add more water, which I added another half a cup. And then let it simmer for about another 20 minutes before I was worried that I wouldn't get enough liquid. Well, I had nothing to worry about, I guess. But let's go test it out. Alright, so now I've got the ink, and I have a few different sheets of paper. A few different types of paper, I should say. I've got plain copy paper. I have a slightly thicker cardstock, and I have some heavy-duty watercolor paper. And I wanted to try it on all three and see what it does. So I'm just gonna mix this up a little bit more. Look at that gorgeous red color staining the inside of the bottle. Oh, I'm so excited about this. Ooh, it's drying slightly more purple. Can you see that? It looks really red, like a violet red, until it dries, and then it dries this beautiful purple color. Let me hit this with the heat gun and see what happens. Okay, getting it with the heat gun resulted in kind of cooking it. If you can see that, the lighting isn't the best for some reason. There we go, is that better? Maybe. But yeah, I've got like this brownish spot here where it had already dried, and then yeah, it did this weird crater thing. So I'm gonna let that dry. Let's see, can I splatter some? I wanna like, this pen is weird. I'm not very well versed in these kinds of things. All right, let's try that. Okay, so I'm gonna let that dry naturally. Although this is really cool because this is darker now, but I don't know if it's because of the heat gun darkening it or if that's the color it's going to darken. So I'm going to leave this little splotch to air dry naturally. I like this purple color though. All right, let's try it on this cardstock. That will have to count as my splat. So, there. It's drying purple-ish as well. Then, let's try it on the watercolor paper. This is the one I'm most curious about. All right, I think that is where I will leave that to let these dry. And then we'll be back to see what they look like on these different pages once they're dry. All right, here are the dried results of making ink. As you can see, this is the copy paper. And it dried very purple. I don't think you're getting the true color here. Let's see. There we go. It's a little better. It's a dark purple where it was really concentrated, and that's where I hit it with the heat gun. And this smear is, I touched it before it was dry and smeared it. So that's really cool. Made a neat purple ink when it looks, you know, it starts out very red, but it dries purple. And then on the cardstock, same. Dried very purple. Nice dark bluish purple, like an indigo color. So that's cool. But then on the watercolor paper, it stayed very red. Very red. So that is my experiment with making dewberry ink. This is a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying ink making. And I'm not sure yet what I will use these inks for. Maybe some splattering. I don't know yet. But I like knowing how it dries on different pages, on different papers, you know. So, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this experiment with making some ink. Check out that book. It was incredible and full of information about making ink out of natural things around you. It even dives into like how to get specific colors from various different beginning ingredients and things like that, how to keep them from going bad, everything like that. So I still have the elderberry ink I made and it doesn't smell off, it still works, so must have done something right. But yeah, try it out, it's a lot of fun. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.